right, my name is Woody Leonard, originally from Valdosta, Georgia. When I was in the 7th grade, my beginning band director was Bob Greenhall, who was a fine tenor sax player in the early 60s. And then I went to high school, and Frank Bootenshine, who was a trumpet player from the late 50s in the band, was my high school band director. So I had to come to Auburn to play in the Auburn Knights. That was I heard the Happy album in Frank's office, so I just had to come. So got to Auburn my freshman year, heard the band play some, tried out my sophomore year, made the bass trombone part, and then the band decided to cut the bass trombone and the bari sax book so that they would make more money for each member of the band. So we were on probationary period, so we were gone. About 2 quarters later, they decided to put it back in, so we're back. So I can't remember who the bari sax was, but that was the most disappointing day of my life when they decided to drop the books. But anyway, brought it back. Everything was cool. Let's see, some of the guys on the band back then, Rusty Logan was playing trombone. Gary Taylor got on the band after me on trombone. Mike Hollinshed got on the band, fine lead trumpet player. Just some really good high school musicians from Auburn High School in the Columbus area. My junior year, I was the equipment manager, so that was a lot of fun. Kind of helps you get to know the charts better and the folks better. But we lost our drummer, and we couldn't find a drummer that could play swing. Nobody out there could do it, and we were hurting. So we could find trombone players, so I swapped over and started playing drums that last year and a half or so. And we got, I think that's when Gary Taylor got on the band, and Ricardo. Business manager my last year, senior year. We were a lot like the 60s, this early 70s. This was 74, 73 through 76. And, we were hurting like the 60s band. We weren't rock and roll. We weren't the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. But Chicago had come along in Blood, Sweat, and Tears, so we started playing some of their stuff and getting a few gigs that way. Some of the more memorable jobs we played, great New Year's Eve job over at Warner Robins Air Force Base. Free bar for the band, and that was a mistake on their part, but we had a good time. Let's see, we went and played the Alabama Bar Association State Convention, and showed up, and there was another band. We were swapping sets with another band, and found out they were a non-union band, and we were a union band back then, had the cards and the whole bit. And here we are with a cold room full of lawyers, and we're, it's a union hotel, it's a union band, there's a non-union band over here, and we got away with it. But the band had gotten in trouble a few years before down in Mobile playing with a non-union group, so we were kind of nervous about that one. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I guess we broke ground several times. Becky Kane got on the band in 75. She was the first female instrumentalist, wasn't a vocalist on the band. Mike Hollinshed was the first African American on the band. I'm just trying to think of some of the traditional gigs that we played back then. Was the president had a reception for incoming freshmen sort of during orientation, and the band always played that. We had an annual battle of the bands with the Alabama Jazz Band. The Cavaliers were no longer around, but the jazz band played, and we would play up in Birmingham the night before the Auburn-Alabama game.
You came back on the band, though, didn't you?
I did. I graduated, went to top school, got an assistantship, come back a graduate assistant with the band, and they had a trombone opening, and that was kind of scary because, if you play in the band and you come back and try out again and don't make it that time, you feel like a loser, but I think they took pity on me. And anyway, got back on the band, and they really had, AJ was playing piano then, Jim Akers was on drums, Joe Watson was on the band. He was actually fronting the band at that point. from trombone, Charlie Kinzer, David Evans. I mean, there were some really, really fine players. John Mangles was playing in the trumpet section. You were on the band at that point, so that was a pretty strong group. I think we had weathered the storm a little bit in that early, middle 70s. Some really good players coming to Auburn and getting into the band, and still a struggle to play more than once or twice a month. But that Egyptian ballroom gig we played at over at the Fox in Atlanta, that was a fun gig. I think Jimmy Taylor helped get us that job, I think. I might have some of these jobs missed between those two times. Some of them might go, with the other band, and I'm calling it for this one. We had a gig up at Turtle Creek, way up in North Alabama. Lyman Mitchell got us that job on a Friday night, and then we had to play in Andalusia on Saturday. Got down there, and the piano player, something happened. He could not make that second gig. But they started counting on the contract. It said 18 players, and we only had 17 out there. And the guy was asking me about how come there's not 18? So we set the piano up. I think the singer sat at the piano or something. We don't know. College guys, we're just trying to figure it out. So I got to play, like I said, I got a second chance. Got to play that year, and that was a lot of fun. Been back to a lot of reunions right after college, and then had a time, I guess, probably like a lot of us, where we have young children and work obligations. I was band director. We had band camp during the reunions. Retired about 6 years ago. We started getting to come back then. They changed the date earlier in July, so that made it a lot more accessible to some of us teachers. It's just been an opportunity to keep in touch with people. Living in South Georgia, I don't see a lot of these guys at different venues and concerts and things like that during the year, so it's always nice to come back and with one more year under our belt, So we were on the band in the 50th reunion, and then played the 75th in the reunion. So maybe we'll make it to the 100th. Who knows? Let's see. I'm trying to look down here at this little sheet here. Funny stories. Well, I don't know that all of them are funny. Joe Watson was telling one today. We were on the way to Gadsden to play, and he got stopped for speeding. And everything would have been probably okay, except AJ and Jim were driving Jim's old Volkswagen bus that had all the equipment in it. So they were going to get out to help Joe with the policeman. And I think AJ stepped out, and about 4 or 5 Budweisers fell out the side of the car. And I think somebody went around and threw them back in real quick before the cops saw. Anyway, we got away with it, and our good buddy, the mayor of Gaston, he got us out of the traffic ticket. But we didn't have a bus. We did the convoy type thing. And, I think that worked pretty well, except you never know. Trying to get back sometime, I had borrowed a car. Paul, this is all over the place, man. Just trying to remember. I borrowed a car to pull the trailer for a gig in Birmingham during final exams. And I had a final at 8 the next morning. How stupid is this? It was a week Thursday night gig or something like that. So Gary Taylor was the equipment manager, so we were riding back, the two of us, and we had a flat tire, opened the trunk, no spare. So we're on 85, somewhere between Montgomery and Auburn, 3 in the morning. So he gets out, gets the tire under his hand, sticks his thumb out. I go to sleep in the back seat of the car. He thumbs a ride to a truck stop. They put a new tire on it, thumbs a ride back to the car. We get to Auburn, but I missed the exam. So I'm scared half to death, and I go to see the professor, and I said, hey, man, I play in a band. We had a gig, told him the whole story. He was just not looking good. I said, what's the name of your band? I said, it's the Auburn Knights Orchestra. Oh, man, that was my favorite band when I was in college. We used to dance at da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Come see me this afternoon, I'll let you take it. So I guess being Auburn Knights saved me from flunking that class and getting out of college on time. How's that?
That
Is
is
that kind of what you're
great.
talking about?
That is great.
But the problem, like I say, some of that is just all mixed up and transposed.
Oh, it's